Despite the difficulty or magnitude of a situation, some people will go to any extreme to try and save a life. We begin near Barnes Lake in Alaska, where what had started out as a local curiosity was turning into a very large problem. Most of the footage in this story was taped as events unfolded during the first week of October, 1994. Local fishing resort owner Nani Fanamel had spotted several killer whales in Barnes Lake a few weeks earlier.
We thought it was neat that they were around there, but pretty unusual because the passageway to get into the lake is pretty narrow. As time went on, we thought, well, maybe they don't know how to get out, or maybe they're stuck.
The whales had been in the lake for at least 6 weeks when an authority on killer whales, Dr. David Bain of the Marine World Foundation in California, was called in.
Whales as marine mammals are okay in freshwater for short periods of time, but it seemed that these whales had spent a longer time in there than would be good for them, and there may not be enough food to sustain them. Killer whales are a lot more fragile than their public image.
When we flew over and saw the dead whale, I kind of sat there in disbelief because I didn't think that it was that bad.
Victor Ives and a camera crew accompanied David on the journey to the lake to check on the whales.
Hang on now, it gets really turbulent in here.
We went in at high tide. There was only that time of day for about 45 minutes or an hour that it was safe to get in and out of that lake.
Fishing show producer Russ Cameron was following in another boat.
Whales don't like real swift water anyway. But also on the top is huge amounts of kelp that hang down like a net.
Well, it looks like we've made it into the main body of the lake.
We didn't know whether the whale's death had anything to do with being in the lake. It may have just died of old age.
So, first of all, we had to find out if they really were in trouble. Normally, when they come out of the water, there's that powerful burst of air through the blowhole, and it was pathetic. It was weak.
The whales were spread out all over the lake, which wasn't normal.
Almost all of them were being solitary, except for a mother and a very young juvenile. Everything they were doing was being done with the minimum amount of energy expenditure.
If you've ever fallen under the spell of a killer whale, you know how powerful and magnificent they are. We couldn't stand by and watch those killer whales die.
When Marine World scientist David Bain determined that a school of killer whales who had found their way into a lake in Alaska were starting to die, he put out a call for additional help. Marine animal supervisor Bill Winhall and another expert from SeaWorld of California flew in to help.
How's it going, Wild Bill?
We all had our different theories as to how the animals got in that particular lake. I felt that they had probably chased the salmon in, and the excitement of it happened to swim through at the ideal time.
And they were too afraid or confused to get out.
That's pretty challenging.
We had to decide, what are we going to do to try to get them out of there?
The highest tide tomorrow,
The highest tide's tomorrow, right?
We talked about the possibility of hurting them. But I had some doubts because I know in my work with whales and dolphins that sometimes they do hesitate going through a narrow channel. Because of their mere size alone, you want to be very, very careful. We didn't want anybody getting hurt.
It was finally decided that none of them were going to get out of there alive. If we didn't get them out by the next high tide.
As much scouting as we've been doing is worthwhile.
Commercial fisherman Mike Farley helped round up local boat owners to take part in a rescue attempt.
In that country, all you have to do is ask for help and you'll get help.
A number, you need a pipe and a hammer. If you don't have it, let us know.
9 years earlier, Marine World veterinarian Laurie Gage had participated when Humphrey the humpback whale was rescued from the Sacramento River.
When David called, I was immediately thinking of the Okami pipes. And these are steel pipes that we hang down into the water. They're sealed at one end to make them hollow as you bang on them. Whales and dolphins don't care to hear that noise come towards them. They tend to move away from it.
But as far as I know, it's never been tried with killer whales.
Try not to get water in the pipes.
Is it yours? No. Whose is it? Yours.
You get that on my boat?
There was a lot of smiles and maybe some doubt in some people's mind that this might work.
Where's your attention?
Where one?
I told David that we would need at least 10 boats.
The idea was to ring the edge of the lake.
I can see 1 through 5 are in position. Yeah, there's 9 and 10 in position. That's a good staging right there. If we get very much further apart than that, it starts being less effective.
Okay, let's start banging.
As soon as we started clanging those pipes, they all sort of herded together.
By having a big ring that started to collapse, they wouldn't have any choice except to move into the creek. Boat 6, you look like you're a bit out in front. Why don't you hold up there till 1 through 5 catch up with you?
Well, actually slow down a little bit right now. Let everybody catch up and then get your distances again between each other. Bill, you need to move up toward Clifford. That's a Roger. I'm working on that.
We brought them to where the lake kind of bottlenecks.
The whales started slapping their tails, warning us to get back.
Now's the time for everyone to kind of hold their position.
If you push them too hard, they may panic at what's in front of them and dive down deep and come back underneath your boat, and you are lost. Because at that point, those whales have figured out that the pipes aren't such a threat to them.
We sat there for I don't know how long. Got kind of tiring just banging on these pipes.
You got a nice rainbow behind you.
While we were waiting, there was a large rainbow right over the tops of these killer whales, and we just looked at it, and we really just couldn't believe it.
It was over the exit where they needed to go. I mean, it's just look up whales. You can see where you need to go here. You know, God's trying to help you a little bit.
They had been hesitant, but it looks like they're moving forward again. They finally went around the corner and into the creek. We'll send somebody up to check out the rapids.
The plan was to gently, slowly move the whales up to the area of the mouth of the rapids, hold them in that area until we reached that slack tide where there was very little current going either direction, and then push them again to get them to go through.
I would expect this to work. Pretty intelligent animal, and it's working a lot better than I thought it would.
The test will be when they go through the narrows. We're going to be real shallow. I think they sense it, and they probably try their hardest to come back about it.
Hey, Bill, you guys need to spread out more. There's a big gap here.
We're going to push them down the wrong channel.
Orange boat, back! Back! Get back!
One point, they turned back toward the boats, and we all got very anxious.
We didn't know where they were. We had our hearts in our throats at this point because we thought we maybe had lost the whole group.
There they go.
Forget them.
We got them back again and then pushed.
Who's one of you, cowboy?
We had them in the mouth of the creek a little bit early. At that point, the kelp forest was very dense.
They started to thrash around a bit, slap their tail some. They didn't want to go any farther.
We just kept bringing our boats in.
Can you guys hold up? Hold up.
The whales disappeared.
Easy.
I'm set.
One whale broke through and went on through the kelp forest.
Okay, I need somebody to reiterate. They're going through. Here we go.
And then the other whales followed. It wasn't rapids at all. It wasn't dangerous. It was exactly perfect timing. David had figured out exactly when they needed to go through.
No sooner than they got out, they stopped. We saw seagulls surrounding them, which meant to us that they were feeding.
They had been basically starving to death in the lake.
Eventually they broke out into the ocean, and I've never seen them move so fast. These guys took off, porpoised, swam very fast, swam deep.
They're wasting time getting out of here.
A movie script couldn't have done it any better. It just felt so rewarding, and it seemed so right.
You're happy whales, we're happy people. What more can we ask?
A beer.
On that day, the volunteer rescuers succeeded in herding 7 of the 8 whales out to sea.
What we saw in all of this was 2 competing marine parks. Corporate America, volunteers, commercial fishermen, all coming together in a real citizen effort to make it happen.
Look, there's that big smile on the line. Oh, I see.
It just went as perfectly as if these people had been driving whales all of their lives.
We're going to go bid the whales farewell, get a close-up of them, and then head back.
In terms of a life's experience on a scale of 1 to 10, this is definitely a 10.
By the next day, the missing whale was found dead.
When that juvenile male died, it just brought to light what a dire circumstance these whales were in. If we hadn't gotten those whales out within the next few days, more would have died.
Humans have done a lot of nasty things to the natural world, and it's nice when you get a chance to try to make up for it. You know, I guess you can't save the whole world, but I feel like we've saved a little piece of it at least.